Hi there. I thought, as I said last time, that I would do something different, and this time I will read a. Actually, it's not something special. It's something I wrote long ago, and it's not. Yeah, as I said, special. It's the only thing is that it is. Well, it's an assignment from from when I was in high school, and it's in English, and I thought I would read it to you. And it's well, I'm not sure how I should do this, by the way. Wait a minute. Sorry, I'm not really prepared, but. Sorry for keeping you waiting, but as I said, it's not really 100% prepared for this, but anyway, I will just start, and it's not a speech, like a practice speech. I've not read it sometime this year just to was curious what I had been writing when I was much younger. So this is probably 6 years ago, maybe. And it's just we had an ethnicity writing assignment, and it was something, and this assignment could imply something that is not really. I didn't really have when I wrote this, I didn't have any opinion about ethnicity or race or whatever you want to call it, or any thoughts. I didn't try to imply anything really. I just wrote it and tried to come up with something and wrote it. So if you think I'm trying to imply something, I'm not at all, really. It was just came from, and it was quite challenging. We never really wrote something creative in that sense. We did sort of, what's it called in English, summaries or no, but PMs. I don't know if that's the English word for it, and this was the only thing that was like to write anything you want, like a story, really. It's the only story. It's quite strange that we only did one thing that was like this creative. But I'm not saying that it's a good thing. I just thought, what's something I can read, and this is the only English thing that I got to think about. It just popped up, and so I will read it. And and as I said, it's a practice in speech, really, English speech, and how you use your voice, and I'm not prepared at all. I will try to make it somewhat nice to listen to, but I'm not a professional at all. I'm just trying to do my best. So it's really totally practice, just practicing this. Okay, ethnicity writing assignment. Let's begin. It's quite short. The sun had crawled back behind the sea, so that the flickering firelight was the only thing that embraced the dancing shadows. Round and round they danced to the rhythmic sound of the drums. Their crotched figures and sandy feet joined the rhythm, and when their soles stamped on the ground, they wheeled up sand and made the sight even more unclear, and filled the little boy's mouth with dry and sandy air. It was a different atmosphere tonight, the boy had noticed. The drums drummed slower and more vigorously, and the singers sang with more passion. His grandfather beside him had his eye fixed on the fire. After sitting there for a while, The old man took out his old thumb piano, still observing the fire with a blind gaze, weighed the instrument in his hand for a moment, as if considering something, and then started to play. When he struck the first notes, there was a melancholic sound to it, not like the glad and cheerful melodies that a boy used to hear. He was not sure what to feel about it, but when he saw the dance and heard the drummers, the singers, and his grandfather's thumb piano, he couldn't feel anything but sadness. This evening was different. The little boy alternately strolled and stamped among the bushes. On his left, waves hit the pebbly shoreline, and sometimes they splashed up in his face. But he did not mind getting a little wet. The sun was at the zenith, burning upon his shoulders, and the stony ground was hot after prolonged exposure to the scorching sunlight. However, the path along the shore was well known to him. He had traveled it many times before, and he knew how long he could go without bothering about coming home after sunset. Today he kept a fast pace, and running around this hot day made him exhausted. He started to walk. An incoming wave filled the air with a west mist. When he took a deep breath and tasted the salty ocean flavor, he really took delight in being at this grand and powerful scenery, the surroundings, the landscape. To see and experience it made him happy. But now he had totally forgot where he was and who he was. The little boy just enjoying being there, to walk without any thoughts at all. Yet there was a reality outside, and soon it knocked out the door of his consciousness, and eventually he realized that he had been gone for a long time now. He examined the environment carefully. Quickly he realized that the familiar bushes and stone and his so well-known path suddenly had become unfamiliar bushes and stones. He had gone farther than usual, but the sun was still shining near its highest point, so the boy was not worried about the time. Maybe I shouldn't be this far away from home, but sunset is far away too, he thought. Soon he encountered surroundings that he definitely had not seen before. A big flat piece of rock ended the pebble shore, and beyond it spread a large field with sand. And beyond that there was even more sand, only sand as far as the eye can see. His eye followed the flat and changing horizon, let them sweep across the straight lines, tried to find any object or something, but the line remained straight until it became blue, and his gaze continued out over the ocean. There, close to the line's color change, it was disturbed. Big oblong dots with something that looked like white trees upon them moved upon the horizon and seemed to approach the shoreline. He had never seen anything alike. The sea was dangerous, he had learned, yet he was very curious about the dots. Consequently, he jumped off the rock and took some steps out into the burning hot sand, for a moment willing to bear the sting under his soul for a walk toward his discovery. But he stopped, turned his head back towards home, and frowned when he thought about what his mother would say when he came back after it became dark. That night was a different night. He sat beside his grandfather in the dark. Only the reddish-yellow light from the fire helped the eyes, and he listened when his grandfather played the thumb piano. When the boy observed the old man's long and wrinkled face closely, the gaze was directed towards the fire, and he had a vacant look. The flaming light threw shadows on his face. Deep wrinkles followed his facial structure, like rivers shaping to a mountainous landscape, and the flickering light made the rivers alive. He couldn't read his face. His grandfather's mouth seemed to be formed into a contortion, a grin, but at the same time his eyes had that empty look, as if he had lost all hope and tried to hide grievous feelings behind that smile. Suddenly the old man looked at him. Now the facial expression that looked like a smile was completely gone, and the boy could see that his eyes weren't anything but sad. His whole face showed it now, that he was woeful and more miserable than the most miserable creature. He started to talk. The story you told us today, and what you saw, all that means, he hesitated for a moment, that means changes. His tone was raspy, and he had a tremble in his voice. It took a while, but he continued. The boy became afraid of his grandfather's dreadful look, and due to that he couldn't bear to meet the ruined old man's eyes any longer. But hear his final words very well. When I was in your age, my father heard similar stories from other tribes about the dots, as you call them. Stories with sad endings, horrible endings. Endings that could not escape fear, separation, not even death. Do not frighten the boy with such nonsense. The boy's mother had approached from behind. And you, where have you been? She gave him a slap in the face, took hold of his elbow and pulled him up. Then the two walked away. The boy looked over his shoulder. The man sat with the same blind stare again, facing the flames. His word echoed in the little boy's head. Could not escape fear, separation, not even death. Well, to be honest about it, that was quite embarrassing to read. Not because of the content, but much more due to the non-preparation part. I stumbled on some of the words and so forth, but that's I was expecting to, and I didn't plan to. I had no idea I would have to imitate or like this is what some person say and so forth. I just figured, well, I try to do something like I have to do something. I can't just read it like as if there's no. I have to do some imitation, but I haven't practiced it, so it was, yeah. So like for me, like for example, if I had an assignment to really do this in school, which we had one time, but with a different story, and that time it was actually you shouldn't read, you should like practice it, so it was real storytelling, and it was a real and longer story. And then I would have, and as if I had to read this, if we had an assignment to read this, I would practice it much more. And that's going back to what I talked about last time, as I was one thing that made me do good speeches was that I practiced, which becomes quite clear now that I'm not amazingly good at just reading a text or having a speech, but when you practice, it's quite, when you know what to say, it's much easier to make it good. So yeah. Maybe we'll take a Swedish one. I don't know if it's sorry if you're only English speaking, but I will. Maybe it will be funny to hear Swedish. You have heard my other ones. Maybe if you put them on sometime, but yeah, it will be funny to do. This is one that I'm more. It's not a story, so it's not really that fun to hear. But I don't know why. I haven't prepared for this at all. I just thought, well, maybe I should do a video and maybe I should do something different. So I don't know if this is a good choice, but this is another assignment I had in school, same year, or could be the last one could have been for the last or next to last year in high school, but this is the last year. This is actually what made me get an A in Swedish. I didn't get it for the first and second year. I didn't get a B, but and we have in Sweden we have A, B, C, D, E, and F is the only fail grade, while E is like okay, or it's not well okay, but it's yeah. So you don't have to do anything more if you get an E. So yeah, but this was. So I'll switch to Swedish, and this will be more boring. I don't really know why I read this, but Why be conventional? Just do something, right? Okay, so this is a book. I could say what it is. Is what is called litterär fördjupning, which is literary going deeper, kind of, in a book that's called Strändernas svall, and it's like, it means the beaches. What's it called when waves is pushed on the shoreline or something? It's called like a, or when just waves. Maybe, I don't know if there's a word for it in English in that. It should be. There probably is. But anyway, the beaches, and what that sound like when waves come. And that's a book about, it's a, let's see here if I see the word, and if it's a sweet English word too. It's the book is a remake, or well it's like he writes about Odysseus and his Odyssey. Yeah, and he's rewriting it in Swedish, not translating, but it's kind of a remake of it. I guess you do what you wanted to. I don't know the English word for it, but I will explain it in Swedish. So unfortunately, if you're English speaking, you won't understand the shit. But anyway, okay, Strändernas svall. This is somewhat embarrassing, but anyway. Jag har nyligen läst boken Strändernas svall av Eivind Johnson, och den är definitivt en av de bästa böcker jag läst. Den har både berikat och vidgat mina vyer. Därför tycker jag att det ska bli intressant att fördjupa sig i den. Boken kom ut 1946, strax efter andra världskrigets slut. Johnson var då 46 år gammal, och genom åren har han jobbat sig upp till att bli en lärd och litterär författare han till slut blev. Konstig formulering. Han växte upp i Norrbotten som en arbetare och fann tidigt sitt intresse för litteratur. Snart reste han runt i Europa och tillbringade många år i både Paris och Berlin. När han skrev Strändernas svall hade han drygt 20 år bakom sig som författare, och denna parafras på Homeros Odysseen kom att bli ett av hans mest betydande verk. I Strändernas svall skriver han om Odysseus och hans 10-åriga hemresa från kriget i Troja. Precis som Odysseen väcker han havsguden Poseidons vrede, och denna nya fiende gör allt för att försvåra hans hemfärd. Parallellt följs historien om hans son och hustru på hemön Ithaka. Gudarna medverkar och sambinder händelseförloppen, men i omdiktningen har deras agerande inte fått samma betydelse. Och det är istället Odysseus tankar och hans bearbetning av det gångna kriget som står i fokus. Pausa lite där, I just pause there. I will try to not just read, I will try to make it better, but I'm not sure how I'm going to do it, because so far it's a quiet lay down, or the tone is quite jolly. It's not that dramatic, it's not beautiful in any way really, it's just text about my opinions, but I think there is maybe a little more good use of words, so to speak, later on, but I'll try to read more like an audiobook. Okay, see how it goes. Titeln Strändernas svall är inte helt självklar, och jag finner olika förklaringar till att författaren valt just denna titel. Vad tanken är bakom boken och hur författaren tänkte när han bestämde sig för titeln verkar intressant, och därför har jag valt att undersöka det närmare. Min frågeställning blir därför: vad symboliserar titeln Strändernas svall för något, och varför har författaren valt just denna titel? Örjan Lindberg skriver i boken Människan i tiden, Eivind Johnsons liv och författarskap 1938-1976. Att havet hela tiden finns närvarande i berättelsen, och att dess ljud och dofter ständigt finns med i bakgrunden. Det är alltid en del av miljön. Havet binder ihop kuster och gör att de olika personerna i boken får en samhörighet. Det betyder hur berättelserna utspelar sig samtidigt, menar Lindberg. Men han anser även att havet står som symbol för fler saker. Det visar Odysseus litenhet. Trots sin berömdhet är han trots allt bara en liten... Trots sin berömdhet är han trots allt bara en liten figur på det stora öppna havet. Havet som Lindberg anser symboliserar både den onda, vredgade Poseidon och den stora modern som tryggt gungar honom i sin famn. Han utvidgar sin tolkning genom att citera den svinaherde Emaios säger till Odysseus. Svinaherde Emaios säger till Odysseus när huvudpersonen plågat grubblar över sin oundvikliga blodiga återkomst till Ithaka. Den sten han kastar i havet kommer att göra svallvågor, inte bara mot den här kusten. Det kommer göra svall mot andra stränder. Allt hänger ihop. Trojanska kriget och vad som följde på det blir mönsterbildande. Han kopplar detta till Jonssons tankar om att krig föder krig, att ingen handling sker som icke är modig till en annan, som författaren till Strändernas fall själv uttrycker det i boken Minnas. Lindberg skriver även om bokens början och använder samma tolkning här. Odysseus måste lämna nymfen Calypso och fortsätta sin hemresa till Ithaka. Detta kommer föra huvudpersonen till ett nytt krig som en följd av Trojakrigets verkningar. När Arne Jonsson skriver om Strändernas fall i svenska 1900-talsklassiker 1 från Lars Alin till Eivind Johnson påstår han följande. Och till slut är boken en kombination av allt detta, en betraktelse och meditation över tidens gång, åldrandet, kriget, kärleken, en poetik till livet självt. Strändernas fall är evigt, inte människan. Människans öde är evigt, inte människan. Författaren tar fasta på E. Jonssons kalla boken En roman om det närvarande och den således behandlar eviga problem. Den är både samtid och evighet. Strändernas fall som naturligt fenomen representerar det som är evigt och A. Jonsson menar att det skiljer sig åt från människan. Det är något som fortsätter år efter år, för evigt. Därför anser han boken vara om åldrande, krig och kärlek, om stora livsfrågor som grundas på av Odysseus. För det är meditation över tidens gång och det leder till en insikt om att tiden är något som är evigt försvallet, men inte för människan Odysseus, livsupplevelser och tankar. Avslutningsvis tycker jag båda tolkningarna av titeln är tämligen lätta att hålla med. Lindbergs sätt att se på frågan anser jag vara en mer självklar tolkning. Med tanke på den tidsperiod som författaren levde under blir det enkelt att dra en parallell mellan de tätt inpå varandra följande världskrigen och dess krig i antikens Grekland. Därmed är det troligen ganska säkert att E.O. Jonsson verkligen tänkte i de banorna när han valde titeln. Vad det gäller A. Jonssons syn på frågeställningen så kan han anses vara mindre självklar. För närmare eftertanke är jag ändå ganska övertygad om att E. Jonsson även haft en tanke kring hur svallet och tiden alltid fortsätter medan våra liv inte gör det och hur vi upplever och reflekterar kring det faktumet. Detta pekar alltså mot att E. Jonsson skulle ha dubbelmening bakom titeln. Lindberg är även inne på att havet alltid utgör en del av miljön. Jag sammankopplar det med A. Jonsson tankar om att boken är en poetik till livet och en meditation. Jag kommer inte ifrån att havets fall är ett naturfenomen som i sin närvaro skapar en viss speciell miljö. En miljö som ofta uppfattas som anmärkningsvärt lugnande. Samtidigt är poetik ofta känslosamt och meditation är ett lugnt sinnestillstånd. Jag tycker allt sammanfaller och har en gemensam känsla bakom. Allt tycks vila i samma känsla, den som fås av en strands upprepande svall. För att komma till ett svar på frågeställningen anser jag att Jonsson inte bara haft en tanke bakom titelvalet. Han tycks ha tänkt på kriget, på hur vi filosoferar över vårt ändliga liv i förhållande till det evigt varande skvallet. Men även på den bakomliggande miljön som skapar en passande atmosfär för frågorna. Vilken clashig avslutning av det där. Oj, sorry. What a kitschy ending I had. For you obviously didn't notice because it was in Swedish and you probably didn't even listen to it. And I'm not really, there's something lacking here in this video. When I do a speech in Swedish or in English, this is nothing like it. This is just, one reason I did this was because I tend to feel, I have a quite positive association with me doing speeches just because I've gotten quite good reception. And part of it is, I think this is not speeches, by the way. I actually have a speech somewhere, but I don't think I will. It's not, they're also in Sweden and Swedish, and they are more personal kind of, or I don't know if I've actually, they are not, it's not as high demand on good writing, and it's, I think, one part of me giving good speeches is because I'm quite honest. I try to speak like how I am thinking, and I'm not, it's unconventional. And since I speak in something I'm actually thinking and not something, I put my whole heart into it. I think that's the thing. It's not that I'm standing out there and just doing a show. I'm just speaking about what I think. And that's intriguing, I think. And that makes me a good speaker, I think. And the practice. And maybe some natural ability, I don't know. I'm not fabulous, but... And anyway, yeah. So this video was quite self-centered, but I think it was nice to... I'm confused right now. I'm don't know what I think about anything really. My mind is just going everywhere, and this is the thing about doing these videos when I'm unprepared. I don't really know, and I speak the truth. Speak the truth. I say what's on my mind really, and I just lost track of thought and knowing what was relevant to say. But and one reason I did it, I think, is because I have a tendency to, since I'm meditating, and I think I mentioned it previously, that when you're meditating and you develop an ability to evaluate your thoughts, or you can notice first of all, but after that you try, at least I've come to start to evaluate my own thoughts and see the opportunity of every thought. And you interrupt thoughts and you recognize when you're not thinking about something constructive. And so, since the point of this doing this video is practice speech in English and in Swedish too, but in Swedish it's less, since I'm not a person that talks a lot, it's not that much practice in speech, Swedish speech, but in English I don't speak that much. But what I meant was that even though in Swedish since I'm not speaking that much in Swedish, it's still a practice to speak Swedish, but it's not still like I still speak, so it's not that much of an exercise. And that's why I try to notch it up a bit and trying to do speeches or something like that, but I'm not. This was just, I just read. And I just figured it would be a good idea to do a video because I just felt I had to do it one today, and I thought I would do something different. But going to what's relevant for you and me and life in general and all that, well, I've had a lot of thoughts about different things today, as many other days, and about structuring my day, and about, so like a method that, well, one thing that happened actually, I think happened, I don't think I'm not done a video since then. It's been a while actually, because 3 days ago I got something that I don't know what's the name for in English, but it's called a ryggskott. It's something you get when you pick something up and your back just pang, bam, and it starts to hurt a lot. It's not that uncommon, but I guess it's more common for older people. But you can't stand upright and your back is like fucked up. But I've always exercised a lot, and I've not even talked about that. I think I tried to be an elite athlete almost. That was kind of my ambition, or I just continued doing track and field and athletics. So I've been training like hard, and I guess that when I tried to step up my exercise, like, because I quit it a long time ago, maybe 4 years ago, so 4 years, yeah, probably 4 years ago, I've been exercising now and then, but I decided to, as I've said about these things like food and exercise and meditation and all things I ruled out for a while and figured that it was not really a good thing, or at least that's what I expect. I decided to bring it all back again, seeing if I could feel better, and I've been exercising quite hard for a while. Actually, I lost. Before this week, I think in 1.5 weeks, I've been exercising quite hard, or at least I've been hard. I've been running 20 to 1 time or 2 times 20 minutes every day, quite fast, but that's not that intense. But since I did it every day, and it was higher velocity than just jogging, I think it could have, because I felt quite. And I also did 1 time a week, I did run for 1 hour, which is 10 kilometers average, and not really intense because I was stepping up, but it was. And after that hour, I did some strength exercise, and after that, it was 6 exercises, and then otherwise than that, I do since it was 6 exercises, and 1 day is like running an hour, and I do 6 exercises. All the other 6 days in the week, I did 1 of these exercises each day when I did this 20 minutes fast run thing. And so, just because, I don't know, I'm not trying to get results really. I'm just trying to optimize my day and my physical state so that I can be as good as possible. So my brain can work as good as possible and I can feel good. And yeah, and I also figured I did some DNA test for long or maybe 3 years ago, and 2 years, and realized that I had, and I watched them over again, realized that it's implied that I was much better at long endurance thing than spurt, which was quite strange because one of my abilities in track and field was that I was quite strong, so I didn't really, but I've always been very lean, or very hard to put on weight, not muscles but weight. And since if you can't put a lot of weight, it's harder to really build muscle if that's what you want. I can do it. I tried for a while, but I had to eat like tons, and everyone knows that that's what you have to do if you. But I've always eaten a lot compared to many other people, and still don't gain weight. And so when I want to gain weight, I have to I would say that I probably eat 40% more than most people in my with my weight and length. And maybe I move more, but yeah, maybe in 2 times as much. I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, that was not what you had to start to exercise. Why did I mention exercise? Yeah, I got my back hurts, and why was that important? Well, I've not been able to do as much things as I've hoped, but anyway, I continued to do on the, what's it called, on the what's it called in English when it's not afternoon? Pre-noon. In Swedish it's called a pre-noon, kind of. Yeah, on the morning, I guess. Until 12 o'clock, basically, I have a lot of activities that I'm doing. Or it actually was just 1 day I did those, and I've just scheduled. But now since my back hurts and stuff, it's quite hard to be intense and just work. So I just gave myself an excuse to, because and otherwise I just read and do the basic things I usually do, think and write in my documents, and I should be careful sitting. Sitting is quite the worst thing for your back. At one moment today, it actually disappeared almost entirely, which was quite great, but now it's back, and it's at least when I'm sitting, that's the worst. Laying or just walking or standing is the best, but and I'm always thinking about this topic, about how you what you do with your day, how you organize it, and it's a difficult topic, and it sounds like I'm harping on it, and I do, and I also say that I harp on it a lot, but that's quite an issue in itself, because I tend to, one of my worries sometimes is that I worry or overanalyze things and not really executing. And this is something that really haunts me. It is the right way to put it, because it's something that makes me, if there's something that makes me doubt, it is that I'm doubting too much, or that I'm thinking too much and not executing enough. And if I knew that was true, I would be relieved and would just continue doing stuff. But there are so many eminent people in history and today, and people who are really do great things. They think a lot, and they tend to think a lot, and I'm really trying to, on higher level, justify or find a reason to not why I not can justify thinking a lot, because this is what I'm thinking about, really. To be honest, I'm thinking about sorry, my back really hurts more than it should be. It's been quite good this day, but I can't get it to get back again. My back to get back again. So I figure I will just lay down now. Sorry for what the heck? That was not my back, that was my knees, and they've always been like that, so don't worry. What the heck? Why isn't my back not? Sorry, but I can't have it like this. It's maybe I'll just lay down. When this is not the best angle, but anyway. I think quite a lot, as I said, about how I organize my day, what I'm actually doing, and that's really what you hear oftentimes with productive people, how they organize their day, and it's quite interesting to listen to. But when you hear really successful people answering that question, who are successful in a significant way, which is, I've not heard many examples of it, but one example is Peter Thiel. He says that he's not the one to ask, really, because he don't have, well, I don't remember, but he says like he don't really have any. And I tend to think that maybe it's not that, well, it is probably important, maybe, but the thing is that a lot of it is just doing the work, and what you think is more important, that you, like, just doing stuff is not necessarily the good thing. The good thing is that you're making progress, because progress is really hard to define, and sometimes progress is just thinking better and getting insights. And for me, it really feels like thinking is what makes me getting ahead. But I can't be delusional. I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to find arguments, because what haunts me, as I think I said it for a long time or many videos ago, what if I would read like 14 hours a day? I think I brought this up earlier. What if I would read like 14 hours a day? Just read. Because that's I'm actually not doing, even though I try, even though I may make an impression that I read a lot and I think a lot, and I'm not really reading that much, because I value thinking. And of course I read, and I like, for example, I always, like for now I'm studying for 50%. I'm like, part-time studying, and when I'm doing it, I try to just keep it to 1 hour. Now it's 1.5 because it's exams and so forth. And I figure that, so that takes some time, but that's just 1 hour in the morning. And how should I put it? I don't really know how much I'm reading. I read now and then, and I try to read like every night. I try to read 1 hour history, or 2 hours even, as I mentioned earlier in some videos. But I'm not doing it. I'm not pushing myself really hard to do it, because I'm not convinced. Like, sometimes for me it just tends to be thinking and resting makes me more productive the next day. And that's something as I said, I'm haunted about, because one part of me wants to be productive all the time, just reading and so forth. And this is also something I've been harping on. But what do you read? If what you read is something that you will actually remember, or is it something like, for example, this book Einstein that I have different Isaacson has written a biography about Einstein, and I just picked it up today because different reasons, and I read some pages, but not much. And I thought that what if you really find good books, or if you just dedicate your day to just read, isn't that the best thing? Because that's what Charles Munger says, that I'm mentioning oftentimes. Readers are leaders is one, but he just says that, I mentioned that before too, but repeating is good, I guess, that I've met no wise person in my life that doesn't read all the time. That's basically what he says. Well, that's, I think, exactly his quote. And what does mean all the time? Does it mean like his whole day? Because Charles Munger tends to read all the time his day, and Warren Buffett is reading a really big chunk of the day, and the rest he is talking to intelligent people. That's what Munger said. And so I think that's the way forward, but they are, well, it's really about, like take Einstein, for example. For sure he read, that's why one reason I want to read Einstein, because what did he really do during the day? And he probably thought a lot, and he worked at this patent thing, and whoops, darkness. I will, well, yeah, I will log in. Sorry for the inconvenience. And so, but it really, I'm trying to figure out what I should do with my day, and sorry to harping on it so much, but it really is interesting. And I think, like, for example, I put up a method, like, I have a lot of things that I want to be done, or that that I think are good activities, like this one, for example. And most of them I've dedicated time. Not this. This is like the history, like reading history. I try to do it. Like, for example, these videos I try to do. Earlier it was like, when I started, it was like one every day or every other day. And now it's going to be red. But anyway, and now it's like I feel content with two a week, or maybe one a week is okay if it's a long one or anything. But just, I guess, minimum one a week. And this activity, along with like study, I have to study for the course, and like meditation, but that's not an activity. I just consider it something I just do, and along with running and exercising. But then it is writing on Medium, which is something, and one is this daily repetition of things that I've been reading, and the one thing is just reading, and then it's history and those things. And I think that's everything. And also one is that I'm considering bringing on is not just repeating what I've learned today, or I mean, what I learned yesterday and 3 days ago, 1 week ago, 1 month ago, and maybe 3 months ago, and 6 months ago, and 12 months ago, or something like that. Not only that, but and during that reflecting on it, but also maybe a separate activity when I reflect on it more deeply, like making connection between all the parts or something like that. And also that's similar to this other thing that I've been thinking about, is this document about reflections that I'm not starting on, because, as I said, I like to have the afternoon free, so I'm not no things I have to do then, and have the whole morning stuffed with activities. And since I figured that, initially I wanted to do like amount of time for every of these activities, and even I figured that, well, maybe I try to write a book, but I figure if I'm going to fit all these kind of activities in the morning, it will be like 15 minutes of everything, because it's spread out. It becomes quite many, and since I'm studying for 1.5 hours, it will be and meditating 30 minutes, and then it would just be 50 minutes, and that's not a good way to. So I figured maybe I would have some things that I'm doing regularly, like every day, like, for example, daily repetition, because by ways it's daily, but like, for example, writing on Medium, and or trying to write a book, or trying to write reflections, like this document I'm thinking about, and what more? I think that's, and yes, and reading, just reading, and those things. I tend to think maybe I'll just do some one day and some others another day, and just sort of circulating them. So it's like two things of these that I'm doing. So it's like 45 minutes, and I watched, actually, earlier today, when I thought about this, like, this is, for example, one of the things I'm thinking about, how to organize this, and I figured that it will actually be just 1.5 hours when I have this thing that I've had to do in the morning and to lunchtime. It's only like 1.5 hour left, and I figure maybe this, so then I will just do one activity 2 times 45 minutes, because that's quite optimal, I think, for doing an activity. Maybe I will do one for 45 minutes some activity, and 1:45 minutes something else, but anyway, it doesn't really matter that much, I think. And but the thought still haunts me that what if I just did like read all day long and not just did thought about how I organize my day, but I tend to what tends to happen to me when I do that is it feels like I don't know what I'm doing, and for me it's like I really feel grounded when I'm thinking about what I am thinking about. When I think about what I am doing during my day, I feel so much. It's like some people just doing and executing, and that's good. It really is. And I've been doing that for a long time until I figured that, well, where am I going really with this? But then I started to think more deeply about what I'm actually doing on the day, and I figured that so many conventional activities are not, like, since it's so damn important what you do with your day, assigning a large part of your time to that question is quite crucial, because every time you do something that is not contemplating that question is executing on the answer to that question. And if you don't have the answer to the question right, you will execute on something that is wrong. By definition, that's the case. And that's why I'm trying to figure out if reading is the only thing I should do, like, or a big chunk of it. And it's really hard to tell, because it's also true that you should, like, for example, this video, it's a good thing, but I feel more and more confident that it's the right thing. But one thing is that since I don't have a routine that I feel comfortable with, I'm trying to build something up and get momentum and start a habit. And habit, I've always said, I like, for example, I have this book, Bars, what's his name, Doug from Habit. It's called Habit, I think, the book. And I've never been really tempted to read it, because for me it's never hard to form a habit. For me, if I know something good, I do it. Usually there's something that's not, I'm obviously, like, for some social things, like if it's really good for you to speak with someone on the bus, let's say, socially, it's a good thing to socialize, or because some people say that that's the case. I'm not the one who just do it because of it. That's good. I quite need to have quite high reasons to really think that this is going to improve my life before I do it, because I have a kind of a social barrier to do it, like many people have. Many people have, especially delivering speeches and other things, is like the most terrifying thing. And for me too, until I stand up there, I feel quite, it's not pleasant, but when I stand there, it's often released and I feel quite comfortable. Probably because I've had good response earlier, but when it comes to socializing with people, I need to have quite high assurance of doing it is the right thing. But otherwise than that, I'm quite good at, if I know it exercise is good, I just do it. And if I know that meditation is good, I just do it. The tricky thing is to know for sure that it's a good thing, because that's why I try to rule out meditation and exercise, not exercise, but daily, walking daily, and I rule out food, and just to reassure myself that I was actually doing something that I didn't know was for sure. But anyway, when I know something is good, I don't have a problem of making a habit of it. But when it comes to what I'm talking about now, like, because it is still true that there goes a lot of mental energy into forming habits. And since it's like things like exercise and meditation and so forth, it's not that hard or easy to say, because I've always done it. Like, I started to meditate for 8 years ago, and so so it's easy to say that it's because it is already a habit. But I tend to think if I know something is the right thing to do, I do it. For me, it's hard to. I think it's more hard to identify what is the good thing. But anyway, my point is, like for something like reading, that I'm sure of how much I should think about my future, how much I think try to write articles, and how much I try. I'm quite confused, but I still know it's a good thing to do. And that's why, but I'm still so much focused on the issue of really doing like, and it's quite ironic that day after day I dedicate a big chunk of time thinking about what I should doing. Do I never realize something? Because I am really pushed about this, like 14-hour work day, or like I'm not even working 8 hours. Why could you claim I'm just working 4 hours? And that feels like it's a tremendous amount of guilt of feeling that you're not executing. You're just laying there and thinking, are you really executing on something? And one part of me say that's the case, and one part of me say it's just false productivity to just execute without thinking. So I tend to think a lot, as you've already realized. But the crucial part is to, I think, because if I know something is good, like for example reading, I know it's good, and I know it's good to probably, I think it's good to write articles and try to publish them on Medium, and it's probably good to doing this, and it's probably good to meditate, but also we're also thinking about repeating what you learn, and reflections, and YouTube videos, and what you read in history. And one thing I've forgotten that is really important about like these daily things is learning my Munger models, as I call it, disciplinary multiple models in different academic disciplines, as Charlie Munger recommends. That's one thing I try to deliver a chunk of in time in the morning. And one of these that I maybe try to rotate, like for example with Medium, these like important things, but that I don't have to do every day, because it's not easy to do like 50 minutes of everything or something like that. Or even 30 minutes. I mean, I think at least 45 is. It depends on the activity, but yeah. Anyway, and I think, but my point is good. It's better to really do a like in the morning on the lunch, really do good executing that sort of stuff. And because when you've established that strongly, then it's much easier to build the rest of it. Because the issue for me is that if I just start to read all day long, which I did for a while, I start to feel insecure about reflecting. I don't really know what to do. I want to have some structure to rely on, that what I'm doing is actually good. Even though I know reading is good, I also don't know that there are a lot of other activities that I want to do, and I think that's fruitful and take me forward. But it's one thing to learn, it's another thing to execute and really try to achieve your dreams, which I'm trying to do with all these activities, like for example writing, and maybe even trying to write a book or something, who knows. And another thing that I'm almost forgotten is socialize, dedicate one, even though that's a much harder topic to evaluate the value of, because it really depends on who you socialize with. And so one thing that I'm thinking about is, like I had earlier, dedicating 30 minutes a day to investigate what you should do social with your life. What events should you try to go to? What type of people? What just learn about society, or your society, what there is to do in it, really, groups of people, what you can do to reach those, and yes, all those type of things.
And actually, that's something I should write up because I've forgotten that part. Because it's still good to evaluate, but I don't think I will need 30 minutes a day to do it. But maybe one of these activities that I want to rotate. And there are more of them that I've been thinking about. Like, for example, for a while I read 50 minutes in the morning, 50 minutes after lunch, or even before napping after lunch, and 50 minutes before I go to bed. Or as for a while I stepped it up 45 minutes every morning, 45 minutes every between lunch and napping, and 45 minutes before going to bed. And that's something I'm trying to, because I want to get more reading into the day, because it feels weird to just have 1.5 hour every other day or so for reading. I mean, compared to reading 14 hours a day, I want to. But the first thing is to establish this routine. I think to have in the morning. Of course, I read I still read history, and I still read in the evening, and I still read the courses I'm studying, and occasionally I read on the internet, exposed to videos like top level people, and try to occasionally I pick up a book in the afternoon too. But it feels still shallow to just have this one thing. But I'm the first thing is to establish this routine that I feel comfortable with, because I don't have one right now. I tried to do someone earlier, but since it's so, I really need, and that's quite a personal thing, like something that I realized about myself. I really, like, for example, if I've been very social for a while, I just need a whole week of being with myself and just trying to figure things out, what I'm going to do. It's so hard to be actively directing your life, because you can become a victim of your circumstances. You become a victim of social norms, and just things of being. Like, it's one thing to just take your exam and study and so forth, but really directing your life towards a purpose, it's hard. It's hard to just navigating the activities in a way that's right, and you lose track, or at least I lose track of what I'm actually doing. Maybe because I don't have a perfect routine that I'm doing all day, and it's harder when you don't have like scheduled because for most people it's like you go to school and you're there 8 hours maybe, or something, like where you study with people, or you're going to your job later on. But since I've been able, I actually want to get out of that and do something special with my life, I really have to evaluate all what I'm doing, and that's a privilege, but also a burden. But that's all that's the only reason that's the only thing I can do to really make a difference in my life, which I'm trying to do, and I think more people should. And that's why I'm scaled it down to 1.5 hour. I tried to only 45 minutes or 1 hour a day before, but now when it's exams, maybe I will have to do 1.5 hour for the next course, because it could be the case that it's more demanding. I don't know. We'll see. But when that's done, it's quite relaxing to have. I'm so free to do really anything that I want to do. And so yes, that's, now I feel it's good to talk about it, because now I feel more grounded in that I should just continue this along this path. I don't have to feel guilt for not. The only thing I might feel guilt for is that I'm after like the morning, I have a whole afternoon, not really doing stuff, but I tend to think that that's just who I am. I don't think I will continue for much longer. I don't mind. I will speak in the dark here. Yeah. Um, I'm often commenting on how I'm speaking and so forth, and it is interesting what people think about what I am thinking about, and what I think what I'm thinking about. All this reasoning, what I'm doing with my day and so forth. But I can't get away from that. It is interesting what you dedicate your time to. So it's so crucially important that I'm thinking about it really every day and quite a lot. It's not that I'm just sitting there 6 hours for just thinking, but I'm like occasionally writing, or I'm resting, or try to think things through, and in a way, I'm trying. I think I have to, like oftentimes when I feel like I'm not really knowing what I'm doing, I feel like I have to take a step back or just rest and you really think things through. And this is a moment like that, like now, when I've been talking for an hour. I don't really know what I'm talking about anymore. I know what I'm talking about, but I feel pressured to really do something with my, like for example, I know that I might read history, but I'm sacrificed 1 hour and maybe I won't do it again. I want to, because this is an issue for me, because since this is a totally new topic, and I don't know, well, briefly, I'm on this new topic, and it makes me quite hype in my brain, but I tend to feel I have to rest a lot. It's not even enough to lay 9 hours in bed, like sleeping and even resting for the night. I kind of like to have, I need to have at least 1.5 to maybe 2.5 hours spread out during the day when I'm just resting, or just, and I feel productive when I do it, because a lot of thoughts pops up when I do it oftentimes, but it feels like I'm really unproductive on top of just not executing more than in the morning. I feel quite guilty about it, but anyway, I've done this hour, so that's a good thing. And but as a consequence, I maybe won't be able to do history because I just feel I'm tired, and if I'm just pushed through on doing that, I will feel terribly tired, even when I try to get up, and I'm identified that that's a vicious cycle. I tend to degrade my thinking and my way of acting when I just push through. So yeah, rest seems to improve my thinking and how I work, and maybe it's a consequence of pushing too hard in my 20s. In my 20s, I mean in my 20s, but in my teenage period, I just pushed like crazy, like torturing myself through the whole 10 years of teenage period. But maybe I'll get to harvest this later in life, who knows. Anyway, I think I will end there, and maybe, yeah, see you next time. Bye.